LinkedIn is the most effective social channel for closing deals as a B2B SaaS company in 2024, and really one of the most effective marketing channels in general for B2B SaaS. Yet a lot of founders struggle to gain momentum, or they're just not really seeing any growth on the platform. Now, I've helped SaaS founders generate millions of impressions, tens of thousands in follower growth, and 7 figures plus in revenue through LinkedIn and other social channels. And today I want to share with you 3 simple ways to actually take LinkedIn content, make it more effective, and use it to close deals as a B2B SaaS company. Now, first things first, why LinkedIn? And there's a couple of reasons. The first one is fairly predictable organic reach. Now, like every social platform, there are ebbs and flows. Some months organic reach is higher than others. But compared to something like X or Twitter, which is a lot more volatile, LinkedIn is pretty steady, and if you post consistently, you can be reasonably sure that you're going to gain followers and get a pretty consistent amount of impressions week over week and month over month. The life cycle of your content is also quite a bit longer on there, whereas something like Twitter, you're posting and within 24 hours that post is irrelevant. On LinkedIn, content from weeks back is still getting served on the timeline. So it's not quite YouTube where content is truly evergreen, but that content lifecycle is longer, which gets you more bang for your buck for every piece of content you create. More importantly, the people using LinkedIn are decision makers that will actually have a chance of buying your software. And on top of that, when they're on LinkedIn, they're in the mind state to be served content related to your product, related to your industry. Whereas, sure, they might be using TikTok, but most likely a VP of marketing at an e-commerce company isn't scrolling TikTok looking for their next high-ticket SaaS purchase. So LinkedIn is an obvious winner. Oh, and one more thing, the audience on LinkedIn definitely skews more mid-market and up-market. So Twitter is very effective and we use it with our clients as well, but you definitely reach more of an early stage crowd on there. Whereas LinkedIn, you're going to get in touch with people at larger companies who have bigger budgets. So now how do you actually use LinkedIn in the most effective way possible and avoid growth plateaus or really slow growth or no growth at all? There's 3 things I want to share with you today. The first pillar here is you need to create a content ecosystem. The biggest mistake I see a lot of founders and early marketers make at B2B companies is they're only posting from the company account. Now, this isn't a video about how company pages are dead and you only need to post from your personal account. I see a lot of that messaging on LinkedIn and just in general lately, and I don't quite agree with it, though it is half right. Because truth is, company pages just don't get the same amount of reach as personal pages in 2024, and I really don't see that changing going forward. Like, just go scroll LinkedIn right now. Pay attention to how many posts from company pages you see versus how many posts from personal accounts that you see. The majority of it is going to be personal accounts. So if you're running a SaaS, you want to make sure that your founder is posting content as well. So you have company page content that still should be going out, but you want to also have a founder-led content motion. And later in the video, I'll share with you exactly how I would set that up. But you want to have that in place where your founder is posting about 5 times per week on LinkedIn, because you're going to get way more reach and visibility for your company through their content than you are from your company page. Now, there's another part to this content ecosystem as well, and it's employee content. If you can get your employees along with your founder and along with your company account posting content on LinkedIn, you can create this feeling that your company is everywhere. And there are a handful of companies that do this quite well. Just look at this post from Notion Social Media Manager. It got like over 1,000 engagements. And it's a pretty straight up product demo. So that's quite a bit of reach for the company coming from an account that's not even the founder, it's not even the company, it's just an employee that's posting and building their own personal brand sort of in lockstep with the company. My point here is the best startups on LinkedIn have all 3 locked in. They have the company page, and this is where you're posting a lot of your feature announcements, case studies, more bottom of funnel content. They have their founder-led content motion, which is a combination of top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel content. I'll get into that in just a second. And they also encourage their employees to post as well. Now, you can't force employees to post, obviously, but what usually happens is if you're an early stage company and you have your company page going and then your founder's also posting, as your founder and your company gain momentum on social, your team is going to see that and want to join in because they want to ride the wave too. An example of a company doing this really well is this email marketing platform called Beehive. They're a newsletter platform that compete with like ConvertKit and MailChimp and companies like that, but they are crushing it on social right now, and they have all 3 of these pieces. Their company page is amazing on LinkedIn and X. Their founder, Tyler, posts content all the time on social. He also has a newsletter and I read it every week. Like, it's actually really good content. And it's not just Tyler who's active on social. They're pretty much their entire team is. So whenever you log on LinkedIn or on X, in this video we're talking about LinkedIn, so we'll keep it there. It's hard to go too long without scrolling and seeing something from Beehive. And that's the effect you want to create. If someone's in your ICP and they log on LinkedIn, you want to make it so every time they log on, there's like a 90-95% chance that they're going to see something from your company. And what this does to drive sales, getting back to the point of this video, is it keeps your company top of mind all the time. And if the content's good, you're creating a positive association with your company. And ideally, you have some product related content in there. It's not just empty brand awareness type of stuff. So when the time comes that your ICP is ready to buy, your company is going to be the default because you're just in their face so often with good content. We ran the same motion when I was at Triple Whale. Of course, our company page was very active. I was running that. Our founders are pretty active on social as well, more so Twitter than LinkedIn, because at the time that was working better. But in this case, the same would apply on LinkedIn. And our team was also insanely active, whether it was myself from my personal account, my CMO, Rabah, our head of brand, Alexa. We were all super active, and it created this sense of omnipresence. People could not escape us. So you want to have that content ecosystem in place. Now, the second piece to drive sales from LinkedIn is you want to make sure you have a properly set up content funnel. So when you think of a content funnel, you have top of funnel, you have middle of funnel, you have bottom of funnel. This isn't a new concept. If you look at traditional content marketing with SEO, you have the same sort of stuff. The thinking is very similar here. Top of funnel content is more broad appeal. You're casting a very wide net with the stuff that you're posting. The goal of that content is to gain visibility. It might not always be specifically niche related or speaking directly to only your ICP, but you're going to get so much visibility and cast such a wide net that you're going to get some people that are relevant seeing that content. Middle of funnel content is industry specific. So if you're selling a SaaS for B2B salespeople, your middle of funnel content would be thought leadership around sales or like SaaS go to market or something like that. And the goal of this content, this middle of funnel content, is to both build your audience, but more importantly, establish yourself as the go-to resource for your ICP in your industry. So again, if you're selling into B2B salespeople, you want to position your founder and your company account as the go-to resource in your industry for B2B salespeople to learn about whatever they're going to learn about. And then your bottom of funnel content is more explicitly product related. So this would be your feature highlights or product launches or customer case studies. Now, where a lot of founders and B2B marketing teams go wrong is they skew too much in either direction of either too much bottom of funnel content or too much top of funnel content. When you're posting too much top of funnel content, you're really over optimizing for vanity metrics like follower growth and impressions. And it might look great on paper, but you're not going to convert many of those into actual buyers. So if we're going back to the point of this video and you want to actually close more deals using LinkedIn content and not just be like a LinkedIn influencer, you want to make sure that you don't skew too far in that direction. The same can go in the other direction though. If you're posting too much bottom of funnel content, yes, it's product related and you're going to close a handful of really warm leads right away. But once you exhaust those, that bottom of funnel content doesn't always lead to audience growth. So eventually that room that you're going to be selling to with content is going to be empty and you're just posting into the void. So if you're not gaining any momentum, like no follower growth, impressions are turning down, you're probably skewing too far in that direction. A properly put together content funnel covers all three buckets of the funnel in the correct ratios. So what are those ratios? It's going to depend on the company. So if you're pushing for more follower growth, you might skew more top of funnel, middle of funnel. If you have a large audience, but you want to convert more of those in the short term, you might skew more bottom of funnel. Or if you're a really like technically heavy product where you're just shipping left and right and you have a lot of features to highlight and your audience really cares about that, you also might skew more bottom of funnel. But generally what I would recommend, have a cadence of 5 posts a week from your founder's account. 1 of those should be top of funnel. 3 of those should be middle of funnel. 1 of those should be bottom of funnel. That's a good template to start with if you have no idea where to go from here. And just to give you some examples here, a top of funnel post would be something like this from Adam Robinson. He does a great job of this sort of building in public stuff where he's sharing the journey of building his startup. Now, building in public doesn't necessarily work for every B2B SaaS. You don't have to lean into this, but the point I'm trying to make here is these more broad like startup lessons or learnings as a founder type of posts tend to do really well on LinkedIn as top of funnel content. An example of a middle of funnel post would be something like this post from Tyler, the founder of Beehive, the startup I mentioned earlier. They're crushing it on social. This carousel you're seeing is something that's related to building a newsletter, which with Beehive, that's their ICP, people who want to build newsletters. It's really not rocket science here. And then a killer bottom of funnel post would be something like this feature highlight from Notion. Notice how they use a really crisp GIF or GIF, however you say it. I still to this day do not know. But again, pretty straightforward. They're just highlighting a new feature from a product. And when you do it in a social native way, bottom of funnel content can actually perform quite well. Now, I could spend like hours talking about the content funnel. I actually filmed a longer video just on that topic. So I'll link it on the screen right now before we move on to point number 3 that I want to cover in this video to help you drive more deals for your B2B SaaS company. But before we get into that last part, which is actually one of the key parts of tying this whole motion together to actually close deals for your company, not just gain followers and impressions. If you're enjoying this video and you happen to be a B2B SaaS founder or an early marketer at a SaaS company that wants to learn more about how to use social in your go-to-market motion, hit subscribe. I post videos like this every single week here on YouTube. Now, the third pillar I want to cover to help you close more deals using LinkedIn content is actually what I call brute forcing the algorithm. Because a lot of times early on, when you're just posting, even if the content is good, it can feel like you're posting into the void and you're not really seeing any momentum. This is pretty normal, actually. And part of the solution here is really just to wait it out and get the reps in and get better at content and really just let the algorithm kind of move into your favor. But there are some ways to fast track this. The first thing I'd recommend you do here is manually connect with people in your ICP on a regular basis. So LinkedIn allows you to connect with 300 people per week. And what I don't want you to do is go mass connect with a bunch of random people, because that's going to totally defeat the purpose here. Instead, be very intentional with it. You could go build out a list in like Google Sheets of people within your ICP and go connect with them one by one. That's one thing you could do. But what I like to do really, and it's not a super formal process, but I'll just scroll LinkedIn, and if I see content that resonates with me and that is from someone who would fit my ICP or is someone who just I want to connect with, I'll click to their profile, send them a connection request, because it's actually someone that I want in my network. Now, why this works so well, and it's part of the overall content strategy on LinkedIn, is when you connect with someone, they're going to start seeing your content more and more. And if you're posting content consistently, that 5 times per week cadence on LinkedIn, like we just mentioned a few minutes ago, if you're posting content consistently, then you go connect with someone, they accept it, they're going to see that content. If they engage with it, if it's good content, they likely will, they're going to see even more of it. And that cycle continues. And now they're in your content flywheel. And then now they're in your content ecosystem, like we mentioned earlier. And now your company's top of mind. And eventually when they're going to buy something in your industry, your company is going to be the first option because you've just been on the top of their mind so frequently. Now, obviously with connection requests, if you can personalize it a little bit, honestly though, sometimes I like to just send a blind connection request if I like their content and I think we have a few mutual connections and the connection seems pretty obvious. I don't really feel the need to type out this whole message. I don't know if the return on investment for my time doing that is worth it. So if you want to, you can type a personalized message. If not, just if they look like they're relevant to your content and they like your stuff and it makes sense to connect with them, just send it. But I'd send at least a few of those per day and just start manually building that audience. And that will help get some momentum on your content and then also build those one-on-one relationships. The other thing I would do to brute force the algorithm is go comment on other posts. This is pretty common advice when it comes to social media growth, but social media is social for a reason. I know it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Spend a few minutes a day commenting on relevant posts. Share your actual thoughts. Don't use AI. Don't be super spammy. You also don't need to spend hours and hours and hours doing this. I think that's kind of pointless and overkill. Really, what I recommend to my clients is spend like 10 or 15, maybe 20 minutes a day doing this. And if you can drop a few high quality comments, that's going to go a long way in terms of getting more visibility for your account, strengthening relationships on social, and again, just getting in front of more people in your ICP. As far as who you're going to comment on, this could be a whole video in and of itself, but in short, comment on either people that are in your ICP, influencers and bigger accounts that people in your ICP are following, because then they're going to see your content in their comment section. And again, the reason we're doing this is to get more and more people into your content ecosystem manually without having to rely on the LinkedIn algorithm to eventually serve people your content. It'll happen eventually. And again, consistency is a major factor here. But if we can speed up that process a little bit, it'll help you close more deals faster. Another tip here, kind of along the same lines, is have your sales team also go and connect with these people. Because if you're posting content as a founder, if your company account's posting content, and even if your sales reps or like SDRs are posting content from their personal page, if they go and connect with these people in your ICP, you can also kind of expand that 300 person limit. And if they've seen your content, they're going to be more likely to connect with your sales rep. So again, everything in this motion just feeds into every other part and creates this sort of flywheel of momentum. And then a bonus strategy I want to share with you as well is once you've built this momentum on LinkedIn and built out this content ecosystem, you have your content funnel dialed in and you've been connecting with people, commenting, and really people know who you are. You've built up an engaged audience. You want to give that audience somewhere to go that's more intimate and longer form. Because when you get someone listening or reading your long form content, it builds trust so much faster and it just cements that relationship and it cements that position as the default option for your ICP even more effective than social content alone can. So 2 ways to do this. Number one, you can do a newsletter. This is great because it's an email list. It's your owned audience and you can funnel people from social to that. And even if the algorithm changes or organic reach does happen to tank on LinkedIn, which is unlikely, but it could happen, you're protected because you have that list of email subs. If you're more of an audio person or a video person, you could also do a podcast or YouTube channel. This is great because if you can get someone listening to you for hours every week or every month, there's a pretty good chance they trust you a lot And when they need something in your category, they're going to buy from your company. And again, it's going to help you close more deals. So give that social audience somewhere to consume more content from you, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a YouTube channel. If you've got the resources or the ability, I do all of them, like I'm trying to do right now with this YouTube channel. I have a newsletter as well. I'll drop that subscription linked below as well. But you want to give that social audience somewhere else to go. So like I mentioned earlier, I have a full video on the channel about how to build out your content funnel. I'll put that on the screen right now. I hope this was helpful. If it was, share it in your marketing Slack channel. I think they'll thank you for it. And I will see you in that next video.